I got a video idea that surpassed all other scheduled videos, and here I am filming it. Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today, I was supposed to be filming my online school survival guide. However, a couple of days back, while preparing for a presentation and discussing about it with a few friends who are absolute geniuses but want to run away when it comes to presenting or speaking publicly. It is then that I realized that over the years, I have developed a system that works for me. Certain small but time consuming tricks that genuinely help me up my confidence, allowing me to have a hold on my presentation rather than the opposite. I should quickly mention for those of you who do not know me, and if you're someone who doesn't like people talking about their own achievements and kind of sort of boasting about themselves, then skip a minute or so ahead. Basically, I've been taking part in debates, elocutions, and other such public speaking contests and opportunities since grade 5, for which my school awarded me with the Walk of Excellence, as we like to call it, which is basically an honor you get in your last years of school for continuous work in one particular field. The catch, however, is that I received my first ever full audience standing ovation in my final year of school while I was giving a speech in Hindi, which is my love, on Ganatantra Divas or Republic Day. It was, kind of my shining moment. My chairperson was present there and she stood up as well. On another occasion, she filmed me while I was reciting a self-composed poem for the second time because that's how much everyone liked it. The point I'm trying to make is that all of this happened in class 12 after years of continuous work. Hence, a fair disclaimer before I start, the things I'm going to talk about are not 5-minute hacks, but genuine steps that require time and work, but can still be managed within 2 to 3 days of your presentation. While preparing for this video, I did go online and look for tips to include, but I don't think I added more than a few because I felt like those were more for people in the intermediate stage, whereas what I'll talk about will definitely be helpful for beginners, people with social anxiety or examination phobia like I've had in the past. Like, these are not magic change your life tricks, but they are magic change your life tricks if you let them be. This is going to be a long one, you guys. I can feel it, so take down notes if you have to. I'll try and include cue cards while editing because I think that might help. I have divided this video into 3 sections which I feel are imperative when it comes to public speaking, and these are prepare, practice, and present. So for the 38 of you who asked for this over on Instagram, let's start with the first section. Prepare. By that I mean prepare absolutely everything. Sounds exhausting? Yes. To simplify, at least a little, I'll go in the order of things we usually do while getting ready for a presentation. Number 1. Research about everything, but while doing a deep dive, avoid getting into the rabbit hole of what's this and oh wait then, what's that? A lot of the times, there are things mentioned in a research paper as facts, but we don't know them. So our brain questions it and we immediately start looking for an answer, which takes us away from our main topic. For example, you have to present about the alphabet series. Your focus right now should be on the letters that constitute the series and not on who made them and how and when, right? So what I like to do is create a section in my script towards the end where I just jot down the questions as and when they come in my mind. What happens eventually is after I'm done with my main research, some of the questions have already been answered, and the ones that haven't are the ones I will now focus on for the question and answer session that often follows a presentation. Number 2, try and stay within 20% ballpark worth of information around your topic. What I mean by this is that now that I have recognized the questions that I didn't understand and couldn't find answers to, I will go and search about them. The information that I collect from here might not be a part of my presentation technically, but I should be knowing about it because these will most probably be the questions that my classmates or audience would put up. Now, as per the questions put up by your teachers or judges, they never ask you something you expect them to, which is why you won't be able to answer them 100% correctly. But because you've collected some extra information, you will be able to make the best possible guess. While doing that, stay honest. Say things like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure about this, but this is what I think based on my knowledge and research. Listen, teachers are way smarter than you think they are, and they're usually trying to see whether you're able to handle the curveball they throw at you than how accurate your answer is. More often than not, they say things like, oh, you're on the right track, that's a good guess, and then answer the correct thing themselves. This would also prevent you from going completely numb, which, trust me, has happened to me more times than you think. Thirdly, fare out your primary transcript. It is now time to transfer your baseline script onto a cue card of your choice. And please do not be overconfident over here. Carry notes with you, irrespective of whether or not you've practiced and remember everything. Trust me, I've seen people lose debating competitions because they forgot a point in the middle and then went completely mum on stage. While faring things out, you're going to follow certain steps. A. Treat your speech like a conversation. Do not forget about the small talk and joining sentences. When I said prepare everything, I really did mean it. And I'll tell you why this is important. Writing your speech, preparing slides, or deciding what content will be on screen is very different than verbalizing it. Now that you are verbalizing it, it is no more about separate paragraphs. It is now essentially a monologue, and you need to maintain the connectivity between separate subtopics. Most people make a mistake over here, which is why they fumble a lot during the finale. You ignore the sentences you use to connect two ideas or slides together. You think that's the easy stuff, and now that you know your key information giving points, why prepare the rest of it? You're just going to wing it. And you can afford to think like that if you're a pro, but if not, you're going to fumble a lot while doing exactly that. Also, it may ruin the rest of your presentation because now your brain has registered this as a red alert. I'm going to talk more about this red alert thing later on. So phrases like, before going into the details, let me quickly breeze through the outline for today. I'm sure this must have been too much for you. Here are your key takeaways. Or even simpler phrases like moving on, furthermore, remember when I talked about this? Let's discuss this now. Since these come so naturally to me now, I just practice them when I'm verbally practicing everything, but sometimes I do add them in my cue card just in case. If you struggle with these, I'd suggest you to listen to a podcast or watch a TED Talk video by someone from your field. You can even open the transcript if it's available, which it usually is on YouTube. But I don't want you to focus on the plain information part. Focus on how these people are connecting different ideas and sections of the podcast or video together, and then simply copy and mold them into your presentation. B. Color coordinate. Use a different color for every paragraph. I even leave a couple of lines in between paragraphs to create visual separation. I use red for something that's important and pencil for something that can be omitted. Now, color coordination has been getting some smack online for being a passive technique which won't actually help you remember stuff. And people from the study community believe that more active techniques like spaced repetition, where you basically memorize the same thing multiple times periodically, help better. While these may work well for tests and exams, but for presentations you don't get more than a week to prepare, so what spaced repetition are you going to do now? The way color coordination helps is by saving you time on stage. Let's say I have forgotten point 3b. Now if my cue card was written entirely in blue or black ink, my brain would have to physically read from point 1a to 3b. In comparison, if point 1 was in blue, 2 in black and 3 in orange, because I've spent so much time looking at that cue card, my brain would exactly know where to look and my eyes would directly shoot onto point 3b. This legitimately takes a few seconds and no one even realizes you forgot something. It is simply the definition of a quick glance. And lastly, deliberately make mistakes. Add human touches. It's time to reveal a secret, you all. My classmates would find this weird and you might not even agree with me, but I have found a way to work around fumbles, using the wrong word, long pauses, sweaty hands even. Basically things that are popularly labeled as mistakes to not appear as mistakes in my head. I'm sure this happens to you too. You fumble while saying something and your brain goes into, oh no, red alert mode. Now that you've realized your mistake, it breaks your flow and you go completely blank. One thing leads to the other and you find yourself right in the middle of awkward silence. So what I do is deliberately place words like and throughout my script to trick my brain into thinking mistakes are good, since technically I am sticking to the script, so that when I actually make a mistake, my brain doesn't go into red alert mode. In the presentation that inspired this video, which technically I haven't given yet because it got postponed, I make a deliberate mistake of using the wrong word. I say, neither of these are absolutely correct. Oh no, wait, that's not the right word. I should say, neither of these are exclusively used. Yeah, that's a better fit. What this does is that it adds a human touch. There is a TED video on why do we hesitate while talking that talks about the importance of words like, and how these words are necessary for speech to make sense. They say that these words add to the speech rather than remove from it. And it makes sense, right? Because we do not have streamlined chain of consciousness. We keep jumping from one thought to the other. Practice. Whatever I'm going to say under this heading, do that in a room alone or with someone who doesn't mind / is used to your crazy behavior, like my mother, sister, and roommate are for me. Number 1. Use your favorite learning strategy to your advantage. For example, I learn better by speaking, by verbalizing my content. So I start practicing speaking right from when I'm fairing out my baseline script. So the 3 points that I've just mentioned, I do those simultaneously with pretending to be talking in front of an audience. I was talking about this before. Verbalizing your written material makes you understand what changes are necessary. I might have written out a sentence that's too wordy to speak in one go, or a sentence that sounds like a bit of a tongue twister, so I'm going to change these there and then. Technically, I'm editing and learning at the same time. While speaking, I also recognize the words that I need to focus on and highlight them in a different color to aid my voice modifications. Another thing that I'm in the habit of, because of years of doing it unintentionally, is walking while learning with a piece of paper in my hand, because I've done that 15 minutes before probably every speech that I've ever given since grade 5. Now my brain just associates walking with learning. I try and avoid doing that during the final presentation though. In contrast, if you learn by writing, you can probably type the same thing again and again in a document or something, but I will still suggest practicing by speaking as much as you can. Secondly, take breaks but use them wisely. What happens when you're constantly saying the same thing over and over again? Your mouth gets tired and you start stuttering even though you remember everything perfectly well. This is usually an indication for me to go grab a snack and make my mouth do something other than speaking. Now I do a few stupid things while preparing, but they help me, so I'm going to share them nevertheless. A. Repeating the English and Hindi alphabet series. Yes, I pretend I'm in kindergarten all over again. I'm going to justify this, okay? After a while, sounds and words get mixed up in my head in a way that it feels like it's getting short-circuited. So to make sure I'm not interchanging my furs and shurs and rolling my R's well, I recite ABCD and Kaka Gaga Anga again. B. Ramble about a random topic, preferably something of your interest. Don't know about you, but sometimes after I've memorized everything, I still want to work on my voice modulation, but my brain has seen the same piece of paper so many times that it rejects it, or I tend to go bland over certain parts of the presentation. So I just start rambling about something random to myself, or if my roomie is interested, pick up a conversation with her with a passionate topic to bring out all my emotions and just make sure I'm back in the groove. C. Please do a final check and time yourself. Something that I struggle with is including the most amount of information in stipulated time, and unless you do a fake final presentation timing yourself, you won't understand which parts can be omitted or saved for later. Trust me, I have seen students and even certain professors talk in continuous loops. They bombard you with so much in one go that it feels like they are talking to themselves in their own world. Especially for the students who take 15-20 minutes beyond the time limit. Guys, this is not the time for you to boast your knowledge like a fact machine. Always remember, you might have memorized everything and researched it very well, but your audience hasn't. Your job is not only to provide knowledge, but to present it in the simplest way possible. If you'll notice, such students never get asked audience questions, which is not a good sign. You can even see on the faces of certain professors who have not yet submitted to the Indian education system that these students are getting on their nerves, which is something you should avoid at all costs. So, shorten your dialogue as much as you can. Use the phrases taught to you in school: lest and should, no sooner than, not only but also, etc. Another good trick is to present yourself in front of a friend you trust and ask them if anything felt a little too much. Present. No sooner did we reach the end. I'm sorry, I just had to. We have reached both the final section of this video and the final part of your preparation coherently. Firstly, use all the resources at your expense. Highlight certain specific words in your presentation that will act as markers and help you navigate through the speech. Obviously, this will work best if you have some written material to go on a screen while you're speaking, but if it's a plain old speech, you can do the same thing in your cue card as I mentioned before. Also, if you do not have a laser pointer, verbalize your next action. Say where you'll want your audience to focus, and then when they have followed you, start speaking. Don't be scared to add something you missed in the end. Apologize and continue, it's fine. This is a repetition of a previous point. Don't treat mistakes like red alerts. Reiterate your point if you have to, maintain your composure and move on as quickly as you can. The more you stop and think about it, the more you will get in your head and it will drop your confidence. To put it simply, you don't have to be born with confidence. You can practice it. Another repetition of a previous point, just in a different way. If it's an online presentation, make sure to practice with your team once. It removes anxiety about technical and online network issues. Even if it's a solo presentation, especially if you have to keep your camera switched on, create a room with yourself and practice. Body language is everything. I swear I don't have anything against robots, but use facial expressions and hand gestures as much as you can. Don't make common mistakes of looking at your notes while simply greeting and introducing yourself, especially if it's something like a vote of thanks. I swear it is so off-putting to see people read names of the chief guest from a piece of paper. Imagine not knowing the name of the person you have invited to your event. Use the age-old technique of practicing in front of a mirror if you have to, but do not laugh unnecessarily, over-enunciate, or be dramatic for no reason at all. Even if you're smiling throughout the presentation without any change in expression, it's off-putting. On good days when I'm not nervous, I try and read my audience's expression and go accordingly, if that makes sense. I might even throw in a rhetorical question of, am I making sense? Just to keep it as interactive as possible. I might change the pace of my voice in the same sentence to make a point, or take a longer pause to grab attention. On bad days, however, I simply try not to look at faces because my evil friends are trying to make me laugh. So I either look at the teacher, or if that's too intimidating, I look back, like out almost, on a blank wall or door or whatever. But I try and keep my eye level just above the audience, just so I can't see the faces. Another thing that I try and do is look a little more presentable, roll back my shoulders, maintain a good posture. It might not do anything, but for me it adds that professional touch makes me feel that I'm doing something important, makes me realize the gravitas of the situation. My last and final advice would be very simple: be as honest as you can. If you don't know an answer, apologize and say no. Pretending to answer something when you really have absolutely no clue, it just doesn't work, and it sometimes bites you back in a bad way. And with that, we come to the end of this video, guys. I feel like I've been talking since ages. I'm not going to blabber on further. If you like this video, then please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, bell button, all of that fun stuff. A lot of work has gone into this one. My last three have been kind of sus, so leave me a lovely comment if you'd like to. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon in my next one. Bye!